I had one of my longtime subscribers email me, and we were emailing back and forth, and I actually talked to this person on the phone a couple of times, back when my channel was, just starting out, actually my other channel before the Villain channel, when I was called the Shadow Pill, before that got taken off YouTube. But yeah, it was an interesting conversation. He was just telling me, because we were having this discussion about like seeing girls that we used to know in high school, and some of us in, for him, college and stuff like that. Like I did go to like community college for a bit, but I never really truly finished. Like I always wanted to make, always want to make music my career. That's what I always wanted to do. If I was around Taz Taylor or Cash Money AP, that would have been an actuality and a reality. But it's just that when you already suffer from, demons of the mind or whatever you can say, it's very difficult if you're not around the right people that can see your talent and help cultivate and nurture that talent. I remember Tariq Nasheed said that he was like, you got to be around the right people to win. You can't be around people who want to see you fail and they hate you. You got to be around people that love you truly and want to see you win, that are able to fucking post your music here, do this, like, you got to be around people that love you and people that, that care about you. But we were talking about how like seeing these girls in high school, or he was telling me like seeing a girl in high school, whatever, like get married, and how that kind of like affected his mind, and how it like makes him feel like, damn, that's somebody who I always wanted and I liked her and stuff like that. And he's going through it now, too, and actually he's actually older than me, you know what I mean? I think he's about 37, 38, you know what I mean? And he still lives at home. I think his father passed away a couple of years ago, but he lives at home with his mom or whatever. And he has a job and stuff. He's a janitor. I think he's like a pool janitor or something, I don't want to get into his business, but his job's not the most greatest, but it's a job, right? And he doesn't have a car. He got to take the bus and stuff like that. And he was just saying like, he just feels like committing seppuku. And I was like, nah, bro. I was like, because this guy's also good at coding and shit too, but he doesn't know how to make money from it. Like, you see some of the shit he be coding, I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty good. These animations and shit are pretty good, and like these automated systems he makes, so he's pretty good. He has a talent. It's just that life has beaten the confidence out of him. And after a certain age, people lose hope. They lose faith. They lose all these type of things in their life that you need for success. You need to have confidence in order to be successful. You have to visualize it and believe it's possible before you even try. You can't just go on the battlefield. Imagine Julius Caesar going on the battlefield and, oh, we already lost this battle. It's like, no. Or Alexander the Great, they come on the battlefield and they think in their mind, they already lost. No, the battle starts in your mind. The minute you think you can or you don't, there you go. You have to have some faith in yourself, and you have to have confidence when it comes to your talents and your attributes, your natural inclinations and propensities. Because the intensity of this world is vicious and sadistic and twisted. This world is designed to break you down. Sometimes certain people look at your existence as a crime. For certain people, just existing is a crime in the eyes of the many of the nation. So you're going to have your own private little revelation. You have to have your own private determination. You have to have your own private, sense of security. And whatever you do, do not be envious of people. Don't be envious of somebody who has something that you don't have. You see this person get this girl that you want, or get a car that you want, get a job that you want. Don't be envious. Just get on your grind and focus, point blank period. You have to focus your mind when it comes to certain things, And I know it's hard, especially when you're in hell. It's like saying somebody in Stalingrad, watch for enemy sniper fire. It's like, well, of course, of course there's going to be enemy sniper fire. Everybody's going to try to pick shots and take shots at you when you're in a certain position. But it does, I understand how he feels, because it does, feel a certain way when you go on Instagram, you see a girl you used to know a long time ago that you liked, and she's married with kids and all this type of shit. And it's like, damn. And people look at their situation, it's like, it's not conducive to the life that they truly want. And that's something you're going to have to deal with in this world, So it really sucks. There's so many talented people that I've met, online, you know what I mean? And these people are beaten and broken down by life. And that's terrible to see. That's horrible to see. It's horrific to see somebody so gifted and talented trapped in a position because they never met the right person. Because even if they released their, artwork or whatever, it just didn't get to the hands of the right people. But if they just were best friends or knew somebody who was like one of the top people, they would eat. Like, imagine if like one of your friends was Quentin Tarantino and you're writing a movie and it's good. He's going to help. He's either going to help you write that movie or take credit for the movie and give you a little something on the side. But your movie's going to get out there. It's going to be heard. Meanwhile, you can have somebody working on something for years and they can release it and it gets no attention, gets no fire, no ambition, I don't know if you guys know the story of J.K. Rowling, the girl who wrote Harry Potter, the woman who wrote Harry Potter. When she wrote Harry Potter, I think she sent it in and then the person found it in like like a trash bin. I think they threw it away initially or something like that. And they were just going through it and they happened to read it. And they're like, damn, this is good. And so they called her back. And I believe J.K. Rowling, she was living off of food stamps. She was like in the UK, she was a single mother, all that. She was going through it. But that book saved her life. But it didn't happen overnight. It took time. And she put her heart and soul into that book. And now you look at Harry Potter, it's a $1 billion franchise. How many more J.K. Rowlings out there? How many more Hideo Kojimas we have? How many more brilliant artists, scientists, innovators, creators are out there that are being suppressed by this evil technological advanced system that just puts money above soul. It puts money above spirituality. It puts money above knowing what's inside your inner soul. Each one of us has an inner spark inside of our soul. And we can just tap into that inner spark inside of us. We can do things we thought impossible. I never thought that I still think my beats suck. You know what I mean? Like my beats, I still think that's why I don't really try to push them like to really sell it. Even though people try to ask, hey, can I buy them? I'm like, but it's not even done yet. People be asking me, I'm like, damn, should I sell this? Because I know this is not my fullest potential, But it's like, some people say, hey, bro, you got to do what you got to do. And it's just like, I don't want to sell somebody a beat that's not really 100%, Like, I'm still learning, But then other people say, hey, bro, you dope. Like, you should be around, certain individuals, you know what I mean? But it's like, you have to meet those people. And as a grown man, no one wants to be friends with a grown man who's not already popping. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Society, we live in a society that's transactional. What can you do for me? And you live in a society where if you gain, if the masses deem, you not worthy of something. Have you ever seen like a guy who's not really, traditionally handsome with a cute girl and people start hating and getting jealous? You know what I mean? You'll see that, especially where I'm at, because, people be tricking, but you'll see shit like that, or when you see like, you ever seen, it shows like those villages in Africa and they be digging through the trash and they be putting together computers and components. Like they go through like the junkyard and they go through all the systems and they put together these little computers and components through like junkyard shit. You ever seen that? You can YouTube what I'm saying. And it's like, damn, these people had like $1 million, $100,000, funding. I wonder what they could be capable of, and it sucks that our creative talents and innovations is just held back with the suppression because we don't have money, A lot of people don't have, like, when I mean money, I'm talking about millions of dollars and shit like that. I'm talking about money. Not like $20,000, $30,000 in your savings. I'm talking about real wealth that can change your life. And a lot of us may not come from environments that come from true wealth. Because unfortunately, what they don't teach you is that your health is very important, like wealth as well. You know what I mean? Like your health, because you can have $1 million, but be on the hospital bed or catch cancer or something like that. It's better to have the wealth and have the health, simultaneously. And it's better to have that when you're young, but not everybody's lucky enough. See, the cold truth about reality is that not everybody's going to win. Not everybody's going to be the king on top of the hill. A lot of people are going to be in positions of destitution and economic destabilization and economic eradication. And unfortunately, that's the vast majority of the populace. The vast majority of the population, the government and the systems have them by the balls. You're going to have to find a way to earn money, and you're going to have to pay for every single thing, from the water, from this, from that. And then life can make it even harder putting you around certain people or being targeted by certain people just because of who you are. Can you imagine if I had Tash Taylor as my best friend, how far I would have went in life? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine if fucking Drake was my cousin, you know what I mean, or something like that, or my brother or something like that, or anybody, or Kendrick Lamar was one of my brother or something like that? Can you imagine? That opens up so many doors. People are just gonna fuck with you because of who you're related to. Now imagine being someone on the streets, with nothing, with no connections. People gonna be more heartless towards you. People are not gonna give a fuck about you. That's a sad, cold reality. Even Adolf Hitler was a nobody at one time. You can find a picture on the internet where it shows Hitler in the crowd. Like, I think it was after World War I. And he's just a regular whatever. He blended in with the crowd. Nobody knew who he was until he started to speak. And when he started to speak, he started to rise. And when he started to rise, you see how far that went, And it's interesting how you have a select group of people who were previously targeted because of their, religion or race. Now they're in a position of power now, being aided by the United States. And now they're in, the Middle East, Gaza or whatever, and they're just laying decimation and annihilation to the population over there. And it's brutal to see. It's like, wow, You would think that once something's been done to you that was negative, you're not going to do that to others, right? But we live in a cruel, sick, twisted world, you know. And people, like I said, people are going to form their own opinions about you. They're going to judge you. They're going to look at you a certain way. They're going to listen to what you're saying, and they're going to think they know you, and they're going to plan and plot accordingly. You know what I mean? You know, but you have to stay focused, you know, on your dreams, goals, and ambitions, man. Point blank, period. And don't be and understand a lot of social people post on social media, like on Instagram, they post the best parts of life. You know, they don't post like when they fucking throw up because they had too much alcohol and just throw up all over the damn bathroom. They don't post shit like that. They don't post, you know, like when their dog has worms and shit like that. You know, they don't post like the inconveniences of life that we all have to deal with. You know what I mean? They don't post the bad shit. They only post all the good shit. So you go on Instagram, gotta understand it's a carefully curated picture and snapshot of somebody's life. They don't show you the fights they have with their spouses. They don't show you the girl cheating and sucking off the pool guy or sucking off the damn mailman, whoever the fuck. They don't show all the negativity. But when you guys actually experience life, you know life has its ups and its downs, and for more people, it's more downs than ups. While others is more ups and never downs. You know, like especially if you're born into like a millionaire family or something like that. You know, it's funny how money can change everything. You know, and the lack of a lack of stable resources can just destroy your entire life. It doesn't matter how creative you are. It doesn't matter how talented you are. If you're poor or if you don't have enough money to really get it off the ground, you're fucked. And if you want to focus on something, you know, and get good at something, you got to start young. You know what I mean? And of course, you can start late, but it's just the person that's like a 15-year-old producer who starts has an advantage over somebody who's in their 30s or 40s that just want to start producing. You know what I mean? Or even somebody in their late 20s because they're youth. No one expects a 15-year-old to have a house, car, wife, and kids. But when you get over the age of like 25 and you don't have your own house, you don't have your own car, you don't have a family yet, people look at you weird. Even though we live in a totally different economic system than that of 80 years ago, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. You know, a lot of these young kids are being judged, you know, because they don't have those milestones you're supposed to accumulate through life. But it's due to the economy. It's all tied to the economy. If the companies pay more, if they actually give a damn about the workers, and if the artificial intelligence doesn't take over the next 70 years, there could be a revival. There can be a revitalization of this nation. But it seems like there's some hidden forces that want this nation to be destroyed. It seems, you know, Agenda 21. Google it.